How to use intermittent fasting for fat loss as a runner without losing muscle or getting injured. So you start running because maybe you want to lose weight, but the scale isn't budging. In fact, you feel hungrier than ever. You feel ravenous and maybe even gained a pound or two. You're not alone. According to the CDC, nearly 74% of adults are overweight and 42% are obese. And many people turn to running as their first step towards weight loss when they get healthier. And don't get me wrong, running is a great sport, but here's the truth. Running by itself is an inefficient fat loss tool. In this video, I'm going to explain how to combine intermittent fasting with smart running to actually burn fat, preserve muscle, and protect your joints. I'm Dr. Peralta, physical therapist and run coach, and I've helped hundreds of runners like you drop fat, lose weight, stay injury-free, improve their performance. So let's dive in. So why running alone stalls, right, for fat loss? Here's the problem. Running increases your appetite. You burn 300 to 500 calories on a run. Maybe you go for a 30-minute, 45-minute, or an hour run, but then you're going to crave like 1,000 calories. Maybe you treat yourself to a donut. A donut's about 270 calories. So you go for your run, maybe you go for a morning run. It's Saturday morning. Hey, let me go pick up a donut. I earned it, right? I earned a little treat. But now you just calories in, calories out. You burn 300 calories. Now you're eating a donut. It's about 300 calories. It's about the same now, right? And so running elevates also the stress hormone cortisol, which makes your body want to hold on to fat. So it's going to be harder for you to lose fat while you're just running alone and then eating the same kind of foods you typically like to eat. To burn 1 pound of fat, you're going to have to burn about 3,500 calories, right? So that means you would have to run 35 miles to burn 1 pound of fat. Now, if you're an ultra marathoner, you might do that in a single day, but most people are not ultra marathoners who are going to run 35 miles in a single day. Now, you might be thinking, how about marathon training, right? Yes, you can accumulate 35 miles over the week, right? If you do a couple long runs throughout the week, etc. At the end of the week, you may get 35 miles in a week. But again, going back to the example I shared, that increases your appetite. So then now you're eating more, you're staying at the same weight typically. Most people don't lose weight with just running alone if they're eating the same, grabbing the bagels, the donuts, etc. Because like, yes, you do need carbs as a marathon runner. But the problem with marathon training or marathon running is that obviously it's going to increase your appetite. You're going to need more energy just to sustain marathon running. So it's not the best tool for weight loss. Right. And also, if you're overweight, it's going to put a lot of that high volume of running, high mileage, right? 35 miles a week. It might not seem nothing for an experienced marathon runner, but if you're trying to lose weight, if you're overweight, that's put a lot of high impact on your joints, right? Every step you take is about 2 to 3 times body weight, right? So if you're a 200-pound runner, that's 400 pounds of stress, impact forces going through your joints. Could increase risk of knee pain, stress fractures, shin splints, IT band aches, all these kinds of injuries. Something I see as a physical therapist, people just come in because they're trying to lose weight and they take up running and then they get hurt and they're frustrated. And this vicious cycle just because they were trying to train for a marathon when their body's not even ready to handle the marathon and simply, unfortunately, because they're just overweight and they need to work on first losing the weight first. So, but hey, I still want to run. A better approach, if you still want to run as your sport to help you lose weight, again, I do like running, and it may work as a better strategy is to do run walk plus intermittent fasting. But let's first talk about the run walk. I recommend instead of trying to run every single day, putting all that stress on your joint, making your appetite increase where you're getting ravenous, just run 3 times a week using a run walk approach to reduce joint stress. Stay in the zone 2 cardio range, right? It's going to be more aerobic, the fat burning zone. Because yes, you can train at faster zones, like harder runs. The thing is, again, it's going to increase your appetite a lot because you're going to want to replenish that glycogen, the carbohydrate stores in your body. That's why people crave a lot high carbs when they're training for a marathon because they're burning all of that glycogen or blood sugar stored. So instead, train at the zone 2. It's going to not going to make you as ravenous. You'll still get some of the benefits of running. And it's going to be less impact on your joints. And then you want to walk on the other days, right, to stay active and promote fat oxidation. So focus on being in a caloric deficit without obsessive tracking. You don't really necessarily have to track, calories. You don't have to put like, how many calories I took this day. And this is where intermittent fasting comes in. So what is intermittent fasting? Fasting is just your voluntary abstinence from eating. It's not starvation, right? Don't confuse it with starvation. Like, I'm starving myself. Well, how can you recommend starvation? That's not what I'm saying. Starvation is a horrible thing. People in certain countries or war-torn areas are starving. No, fasting is voluntary, right? You're choosing to fast even though food's available to you. We're talking about fasting here, 2 different things. So, you may feel hungry when you start take it up, but there's different ways of fasting, right? There's different strategies. very popular method is just eating 2 meals a day. Some people may want to do just lunch and dinner. All right. And then this oftentimes is having within an 8 hour eating window, right? So you may have lunch at 12 p.m. and then dinner at 8 p.m. or 7 p.m., excuse me. So then that'd be a 16-8, right? So you're fasting for 16 hours, right? You also include the hours you sleep. So if you sleep 8 hours, that's also included as part of your fast. And then you're awake for 8 hours, right? Now you're 16, then you start your first meal of the day at lunchtime around noon. Boom. So then you go from like 12 to 8, where, okay, you have the one meal at 12 and another meal at like 7 or 8. Boom. That's your 16-8 intermittent fasting strategy. Another strategy is 1 meal a day. So 20 hours of fasting and then this 4 hour eating where maybe you have like a dinner that takes like you have dinner at around 7 p.m., like dinner only, right? You have a big dinner and that's it. And so this is two common intermittent fasting strategies. And there's others, of course. There's also alternate day fasting. Again, there's been multiple strategies of fasting, but I'm just sharing the most common ones. But if this is difficult for you, like, whoa, this is way too much. I'm a grazer. I eat throughout the whole day. I'm eating like 6 times a day or something. Start by cutting out snacks and maybe just move to just 3 meals a day, right? Just have breakfast, lunch, and dinner within a 12-hour eating window, right? So you condense your eating window from a 12-hour eating window where you're just having breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So you're only spiking insulin 3 times. And then as you get more used to it, you could then shorten it to a 2 hour 2 meals a day. So you're only spiking insulin 2 times and then into just 1 meal a day where you're only spiking insulin once a day. So when you fast, why do I keep mentioning insulin? Insulin drops, right? Insulin's like the storage or hormone was when every time you eat food, your body signals insulin. Okay, it's time to store food for energy, nutrients, etc. It's normally a good thing, but the problem is a lot of people become insulin resistant, and then now this is going to lead to being overweight or obese, and then they start storing too much fat. And then when you fast, you're able to start helping reverse that trend, right? It can even help with potentially reversing diabetes, but especially helping with weight loss or being overweight. Fat burning increases as you fast. You avoid the constant insulin spikes from frequent snacking. And yes, low carb diets can help, but fasting, I would argue, is more powerful. So why fasting works when dieting fails? Here's the truth most people miss. Eating less isn't enough if you're still spiking insulin all day. With fasting, insulin resistance reverses, right? So your body's now not resistant to insulin, right? It's going to be able to utilize the food for energy instead of trying to store it as fat. Growth hormone rises, and you burn more fat without slowing down metabolism. But don't mistake water weight for fat loss. In the very beginning, you may lose a lot very rapidly, but oftentimes that's water weight. For fat loss during fasting, it's more normal to expect anywhere from like a quarter pound per day. And then in a week, it's about 1 to 2 pounds for men on average, and about 0.8 to 1.7 pounds for women on average for sustainable progress. To lose fat and not muscle, you must keep your protein high, right? So eat 0.65 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. This keeps your strength and endurance intact. Simple carb cutting tip, remove about 3 cups to handfuls of carbs per day, right? If you're having grains, bread, etc., just remove 3 cups handful per day. So in the beginning, start just reducing carbs, but if you prefer to keep the carbs high, you could also reduce fats, but both either the low carb or the lower fat strategy, still keep your protein high. And then assess in 2 weeks and adjust your progress, right? In 2 weeks, hey, is the scale going down? Are you losing weight? If it's still staying the same, it may further reduce either the fat or the carb content, but again, keep the protein the same. You want the protein because you want to maintain protein. Otherwise, if you take the protein out, you're going to use too much muscle mass. And a muscle is actually metabolically active. Actually, muscle helps you lose weight, but if you start losing too much muscle, then you're going to start lowering your metabolism, which is not a good thing. It makes it harder to lose weight. So if you're serious about losing weight, staying injury-free, and still running strong, I encourage you to experiment with intermittent fasting and adjust your run training smartly, right? So with the running, you may want to then pair your running around your mealtime. So maybe you run and then you have your first meal of the day right after you run, right? So if you're doing 2 meals a day, you'll go run maybe around the lunchtime hour, and then do the run first, and then eat your lunch, so that that food can support your running workout, and also you're not feeling so ravenous and feeling like you're struggling to have food. You'll have lunch right after you run, or maybe you run at nighttime around dinner time, and then have dinner right after you run. So that's how you can kind of time your run workout with your meals. So drop a comment if you want help designing a run-walk intermittent fasting schedule. And if you want further guidance on training on how to stay injury-free, or even if it's for weight loss, I have a free training for runners that explains how to help runners stay injury-free. And if you're really interested in looking for one-to-one help from there, you can also book a call with me. So like, comment, subscribe, and share this with a runner who's stuck in a plateau.